great morning, great afternoon, and great evening, whichever you may be tuning into the video, man. I'm excited to be here today, man. Study the old you. Transition Starts Here series, Study the Old You, Part 6, Environment and Triggers. All right, so today I'm going to go through three questions. Three questions that you can ask yourself about environments and triggers as you study the old version of yourself to become a new version and a better version of yourself. All right, so the first question that I'm going to ask is, trying to think what's the best way to say it. What environments bring me peace versus what environments bring me stress? What environments bring me peace versus stress? So for me personally, we're going to take a look into the last season where we're examining these triggers and environments. So for me, peace comes in the form of running and video games. At least that's what it did growing up. It was running and video games. Running for me would give me a peace of mind that I just couldn't get anywhere else. Running in high school, when I started running distance, was how I connected with God. I would pray when I run. I would pray when I was having a hard time running, when I was cramping running. Like, I would usually connect with God in that space. And I think that was one of the other reasons that made it a good space. But also for me, running, if I needed to make a decision, if I was thinking about something, typically if I go out for a run, once I come back, my mind was clear. I knew exactly what decision I need to make. I knew how to think and how to operate as far as in the space of different things. So running would allow me to disconnect from the world and reconnect with myself. And the same thing for video games. Growing up, video games allowed me to disconnect from the world. It also allowed me to be able to channel some of that anger that I was feeling as a kid and be able to release some of that within playing the video games. I would be able to do that. So those are the two ways in which I relieve stress. So in this last season of my life, I wasn't working out consistently enough and I wasn't playing video games. So when I'm not doing those things, the stress that I'm feeling from everyday life has to now come out in ways in which I will say that I'm not proud of. It's going to come out in ways where I'm typically exploding, or I am releasing the things, the pain, all of the stress and things that's bottled up is coming out into those that are the closest around me. And that is not, like I said, one thing that I'm proud of. It is something that I'm now more aware of and that I've worked through to correct, to make sure I have the proper stress relief tools and things in order to make sure that I am alleviating myself or relieving myself of that stress in the proper way. The third thing I also forgot to add on as far as stress relief that I've recently got into is journaling and reflection. Reflection is something that I typically used to do all the time, but I have now dedicated times to doing it at the beginning of the day and dedicated times to doing it at the end of the day. Now, I may be able to get a reflection time in sometime during the day as well and be able to reflect and come back and be able to now correct some of the different things that I'm doing and be able to acknowledge, apologize, and be accountable to things that I may do throughout time that I may have lacked the awareness of before without having those stress relief options and things being done. The then the other thing as far as reflection is journaling. So reflection in the form of writing it down, reflection in the form of seeing it, playing it back, and through the writing it down, through the breaking down of the different situations and things, it allows me to be able to step outside of my body, to be able to see it from a different perspective, in which now I can operate and be able to see how what I did, what I said, and the other things is received from the other end. So those are ways that I relieve stress, and ways that I create that peace within that environment. Number 2, what people or situations triggered regression? So in the last season, I'm not going to say that it was specifically people. I'm going to say it was just the mirror. So in my last season, anytime somebody challenged me, anytime somebody held up the mirror to a problem or a issue or something that I saw about myself that I didn't particularly want to face at that particular time, I was lashing out, and I was lashing out in a way because I didn't like what I was seeing. I was acting in a way that was immature instead of being able to sit in the intensity of the uncomfortable emotion and be able to fully grasp it and sit with it in a way that I could receive it, even though that it was uncomfortable, reflect on it, and then change or figure out a way to adjust the behavior or be able to adjust the thing that I was seeing to be able to show up better and be better. And I think it just wasn't it was just me. And because I won't make any excuses, at the time I was dealing with so many other things that I was correcting. I think when I think as far as my capacity to be able to look at those other things without having the stress relievers in place and being able to do those things in a way that was effectively, I would just dismiss or tune out those things when that mirror was held up. So now that I'm aware, now that I recognize how I showed up in that last season, I'm making sure that I have those. I'm working out consistently. I'm journaling, I'm reflecting. I'm making sure that the things that I know I need to do in order to be able to handle my stress in a way that is conducive to having and producing the best relationships and environments, I'm making sure that I got that in place and it's not going anywhere. Yes, I understand that there are going to be times in life where those things kind of adjust and, it goes up and down. I'm making sure that it's consistently there so that I can consistently operate in a way that I am not showing up, lashing out, or being dismissive to things or challenges of things from people that are closest to me to make me better and make me be the best version of myself so that I can show that I care, that I can show that I have that value for them, for their opinion, and the spaces and the things that we're creating. So that's what I would say as far as my answer to number 2. And number three, was I reacting or did I ever feel safe enough to just be? So I would say in the last season, I was doing a lot of reacting. And my lack of initiative, my lack of being proactive, my lack of starting these things and not reacting to things put me in a position where I was always either dismissing or blame shifting in order to avoid being accountable to the things that I didn't particularly want to face at that time. I'm correcting and facing these issues over here. So when you bring me these issues and things over here, it was hard for me to be able to look at it because I'm thinking in more of a one-track mind. Like, let me fix this first, then I'll fix this, then I'll fix this. instead of being proactive to say, okay, I'm fixing this, but you got this over here that needs to be fixed as well. Let's work on being more of a well-rounded individual versus being a one-track minded individual. Correct this, correct this, correct this, correct this. Because when you look at life, you have to be a well-rounded individual. If you're good over here and you subpar over there, what's going to essentially happen is that one area where you're great will limit you in being able to be a full individual and a well-rounded individual. You will have you'll have good traits about you, but you can have good traits about you and be a terrible person. So I could be great in them areas, but that doesn't make me a person that's great to be around. That doesn't make me a person that's great that's great for producing and maintaining relationships, friendships, mentorships, opportunities, and things like that. So in the last season, I was just so one-minded in as far as focusing on this one area that I missed the opportunity to show up and be able to grow and be a more well-rounded individual. So I think for me, I was always reacting and I was in that survival mode to where now I've come out of the survival mode and moved more into thriving. Now, I would say we all have seasons of being in survival mode, but there's a way that you can be in survival mode if you have to and still show up in a way that you are not hurting the people around you as you go through your individual seasons. And that looks like being able to communicate where you at, even if you don't necessarily know how to say how you feeling, communicate. I don't know exactly how I'm feeling. I'm working through my emotions to be able to come to a conclusion, to be able to work through this. I think the things that you are bringing me are so challenging to me at this particular point that I'm having trouble looking at the things that you're bringing to me. I want to look at them, but it's hard for me to look at them. So let's figure out a way that we can look at these things in a way that we know that they challenging, but let's come up with some solutions to these things so I can stop running from these things and I can run to them. So that is one way in which I think in my last season, if I had that and if I was operating a little bit better, that would have helped me in that season to be able to show up differently, to be able to have a better survival mode for the sense of surviving in that instance. Now, there's other things that I would say. So communication could have been a lot better, taking more time to reflect, being more aware of the different things that's going on. So when you're looking at your environments and triggers, and when you answer those 3 questions that I just asked, you may want to factor in the mental space that you're in, the physical space that you're in, the emotional space that you're in, the spiritual space that you're in. Factor in all the other elements when you're looking at the environments and triggers, because sometimes it's easy to look at an environment and say, I'm being triggered because I'm in this environment. I'm being triggered because this person and this. And yes, you may be being triggered by the person in the environment, but there may also be things within you or inside yourself that is triggering you in the environment that you're in. And regardless of the environment or the person, you can move to a whole different environment and the same thing happen, and you still find a way to avoid being accountable, avoid being responsible, avoid having to face those challenges. Just avoid the different things that will allow you to grow and be a well-rounded individual. So just take those things and factor those things in when you're looking at environments and triggers. All right, man, that's it for this week, man. I appreciate y'all watching the video, man. If the video resonated with you, man, like it, comment, share it to somebody who you feel like needs to hear this message, man. Share it with somebody that needs to hear this message, man. I'm going to holler at y'all on the next one, man. Y'all already know how we get down, baby. Y'all already know that greatness. Woo! That greatness. That greatness is in the heart, baby. And we all got it. Let's go. Woo!